Hey beauties, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the one and only Clean Beauty Podcast. Did you know that in America, cosmetics are not regulated? Companies are free to add thousands of potentially harmful ingredients that personally cause me to have health problems. Hi, I'm the creator of Lash Binder and your host, Cassandra McClure. I've worked in the beauty industry worldwide for over 10 years as a wedding and celebrity makeup artist. Now, I'm on a mission to ban 1,500 ingredients by advocating for cleaner and greener cosmetics. Join me every Monday right here for a new episode on the Clean Beauty Revolution. This episode is made possible by our official sponsor, Lash Binder, the world's quickest, easiest, and safest way to apply strip lashes. If you've ever tried applying lashes, you've used your fingers, which is unsanitary and difficult, a pair of tweezers, which is dangerous, or you've tried lash extensions, which can be expensive, damaging, and time-consuming. Lash Binder is a discreet applicator that'll have your lashes on securely in under a minute anywhere in the world. Get a lash starter kit today at lashbinder.com with the code CLEANBEAUTYPODCAST for 25% off. Happy lashing!
Cassandra McClure here with Debra Tomaszewski. Okay, so I am at the Skin Inc. Face and Body Spa Expo and Conference for Northern California today, and I ran into a friend, Debra. She's sitting here today with me. We're doing live interviews, and I had discovered Marin Bee Pure Honey Skincare back last year at the Indie Beauty Expo where we had met. And so welcome to the show. I'm so glad we finally got to actually sit down and do this. It's much, much more fun. So tell us where you're from and how you got started, and we'll go from there.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'd like to say that we are a skincare with the mission to save your skin and save the bees. We have natural skincare, honey-based. I'm a beekeeper, but I'm also a former teacher and college professor. 9 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Planet Bee Foundation, and we're based out of San Francisco. My husband and I started that sort of grassroots just because our kids were in school and we used to bring bees to the classroom. And that took off, and one of our first clients was Google. And they were supporting, the corporate clients were supporting the classroom education so that we could give the lessons for free in the classroom. Since then, we've grown. 4 years ago, Whole Foods Market did a 5% day for us in Northern California and raised $200,000 for the nonprofit. And we've been able to scale up, and we're an environmental education nonprofit now. We've seen about 25,000 kids in the last 4 years, mostly at no cost. And we work with a lot of schools and a lot of high needs areas, but also all around the Bay Area. 2 years ago, we launched the Marin Bee Company, Pure Honey Skincare, with the intention of helping to support the nonprofit, but also it was born because my daughter had acne, and she was in middle school and just breaking out like crazy, and the hormones were going nuts. And we had been to some dermatologists, and just the products were very harsh for her at that age. I mean, she's figured out her whole regime now, but at that time, it was really difficult to get something that wasn't super irritating, especially just because it's so difficult at that age with your hormones raging and you're eating the wrong foods, and it's really from the inside out acne. So I was really looking, as a concerned mom, I was really looking for something as a topical for her face. And because we were the beekeepers and we love nature and we love natural products, I thought, what could I make her that would be soothing, that is not going to irritate her? So I thought, I'm going to use time-tested ingredients that I know are effective, and I know will work but won't irritate her. So of course I thought of the honey, because as you know, honey is very healing and it reduces redness and inflammation, and she had inflammatory acne because it was hormonal, and it's soothing. They can use it as sort of as ointment or on burns, and most people that love honey know that. So it's a treatment in and of itself. But I also wanted to pull the junk out of her face, so I included clay to just sort of clean the pores out. And for soothing, we put aloe and oatmeal because I grew up in New Jersey, so we went to the beach a lot. And you get sunburn and itchy skin. And we always used an aloe plant and oatmeal, and I knew those would be soothing as well as the honey being soothing. And we had gotten into Chinese medicine at that point, so I knew sulfur was an ancient Chinese medicine and really working well for her. And we also put zinc in there and some lavender oil to help with the sulfur smell and some salt. And I just did a DIY recipe, and she started using it with really nice results for topical. And you kind of can't overuse the mask because it doesn't make you peel, and honey's also emollient. So you're dried out, but you're not peeling, right?
Oh, wow.
So her friends started using it, my friends, and I had a friend that said, you know what, you could go to a cosmetic lab and have that made. And I thought, oh, how cool would that be to have a product to help fund the nonprofit and be like a Tom's Shoes, but really nice natural products that work with time-tested ingredients. So that was the first product, and that started the line. We also have a beautiful honey polish that is just like, that product happens to be, just backing up a little bit, that's EWG verified. And it's about 1/3 honey, like 32% or something like that. And then we have a polish that's really beautiful. And that was the second product. So when you're harvesting honey, you've got honey and bee parts and beeswax on your hands, and you can just do a super fast DIY recipe of just salt and olive oil and just mush it all together, and the hands are really healed and beautiful. So I went to the same lab and I just said, can you make this for me as a really beautiful product of a spa quality? So that's our second product, and a lot of spas love that for deluxe mani-pedi. I happen to have eczema, so I use that. It's also 30% honey. Our honey is sourced locally from Northern California. We're very sustainable. Our boxes are made with wind power and soy-based inks, and we do use tubes for sanitary reasons, and they're all recyclable. So all our vendors are in California, so we love the environment, obviously. And then we've got a really beautiful natural shave cream that starts out like a cream and turns into an oil, and it's natural preservative. So a lot of people love it, like for the bikini area, but men love it too because they do the face and the head. So it's pretty unique because there's not a lot of natural shave creams out there. We have a beautiful Shea Butter, has a beautiful essential oil scent of lavender and citrus, mostly citrus, and a lot of men love that as well because it's gender neutral, but it's just really refreshing and beautiful. It has coconut oil and jojoba oil, and it's just really high quality spa base. Actually, that product, last year we were top 3 for Indie Beauty. It was unsolicited, so that was pretty cool. We were up for an award there, and we also got the LNE spa. We were nominated for Best Hand Cream there too, so it's award winning. The Shave has also received an award through Healthy Lifestyles magazine for that, so that's been really nice. And we've got a lip repair that looks great under and over lipstick. It has a beautiful gloss and it's tinted. And makeup artists love it because it's healing, but it looks pretty. And I personally don't love lipstick, so I wanted something I could use for every day, but that would look a little pretty. And it's a really beautiful, they call it a slip, so it doesn't feel tacky and greasy, and it's a nice featherweight. And that's our line. We've got 2 body, we've got 2 face and 3 body at this point, and we're launching some more face products next year. We've got a beautiful rose toner, a creamy cleanser, and a serum. And we also have a brightening powder that's pretty cool. That's actually ready to go, but we're going to release everything at once, so we'll have more of a protocol for the face line.
Awesome. So you answered so many of the questions that I had, which is awesome. But for the listeners, like, you have been everywhere. You've been in Glamour and InStyle and BuzzFeed, and like you're published, you're in every magazine. And I think it's interesting because I didn't understand that the foundation, Planet B, came before the line.
Yes.
Like, that's not something you hear very often, that you have organization that you're working for, and then the product comes second, right? So that's really cool, and maybe that has helped. So what originally did the Planet Bee Foundation stem from?
So my husband and I, we were beekeepers, but because I was a teacher and college professor, I thought it would be cool to just start my own program. And since my kids were in school, I was already bringing beehives to the classroom and giving honey to the teachers. It was fun, and I love the earth, and I love natural products, and the bees are struggling. So we just started kind of doing lessons, and it is a cool story because the first corporate client that we had was Google, and we are in the Bay Area, so we have all the tech companies, and we did a corporate team building program for them, and we did a honey harvest, and the press came and they put a link to us on their blog. That was 9 years ago, and then everybody heard about us, and it just kind of took off. And because I used to work with student teachers, I thought it'd be fun to have interns, so I had a bunch of interns from San Francisco State University, and it got so much momentum that I was like, holy cow, we better make this into a nonprofit. So we piloted the program, and we got our nonprofit status. And just out of the love of nature and just the love of learning and the environment.
Okay. So is your husband still a beekeeper now?
Yeah, so he works as a corporate counsel. He's general counsel for wine.com, so he works full time as a lawyer, but he is our beekeeper on weekends, and he's a master beekeeper. He just got the certificate from Cornell University. So, but we have 60 hives that we have out at corporations, and the funds from us doing programs there, maintaining the hives, goes to our sponsorships for children in schools, so that we can give our program for free. So we've got hives at SAP and Google. We've got Stanford University, work with them, in the Oakland Zoo. We've got the Sutro Tower in San Francisco. We work with a bunch of wineries, and work a lot with San Francisco Parks and Rec, and a bunch of urban farms. So every weekend he goes out and does the beehives on Saturdays and Sundays.
Wow, that's amazing. So I read somewhere that there's a big problem with some of the seeds in the farms, or like, maybe it's Monsanto or something, but if the bees try to get that the pollen from those plants, they might die because the Roundup is in their DNA, is in the plant. Yeah. And so, like, have you all noticed, or has it? Because I heard, like, once the bee dies, like, they don't come back, or they come to the hive and, like, they'll die, or like, and hives just they just become almost extinct if it keeps happening. So how do you guys protect that? Like, how does it work? Like, how do you protect the bees and all that?
So we get this question a lot. The bees are struggling. In the 1940s, there were about 6 million managed hives in this country, and now there's about 2.5 million. So it's interesting because bees are considered livestock, so you can keep dividing hives and make more bees, but they just can't get it past that level. And the reason is that there's something called a varroa mite, and the real name is called Varroa destructor. The varroa mite was introduced to this country in the 1980s, so they've gotten sort of at this critical mass. So that's what the scientists are really trying to solve. But what's the pesticide? I think that's what you're talking about. That does play into the bees struggling because, so a pesticide can be engineered into a seed, but it can also be sprayed directly, and it can also be put into the ground. So it kind of depends on how it's applied. Obviously, if it's a direct spray, it's going to kill the bees. If it's the seed, it will be on the leaves when the seed grows, and that nectar, when a bee collects the nectar, that is fed to the young and the babies, and that it can go through the generations and weaken the bee. And if it's on the ground and it goes into the root system, you have a similar problem. So if it's not a direct spray, it doesn't directly kill the bees, but if they do get it in the nectar, it does weaken the bees. And then you have the problem of monoculture farming, which is like one crop as far as the eye can see. If a pest gets in there, it goes hog wild because it has it has whatever it can eat as far as the eye can see, so they have to use a lot of pesticides. So that's another problem, and it's very harmful for humans too. And in the perfect world, a farm would have a bunch of different crops, so that if a crop did get infected with pests, it would be more like integrated pest management. It couldn't go crazy, so you wouldn't have as much pesticide. The other thing that happens with bees is the workers, which is 99% of the hive, they're all female, so we'll be happy to know that. The drones are only 1% of the hive, and they don't do any work, and there's only one queen, and she works hard. She lays 2,000 eggs a day, and there's 50,000 bees in a hive. But the workers only live between 4 and 6 weeks, so when bees are used for pollination and they're put, let's say, in an orange grove for 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, they only live 4 to 6 weeks, so that's all they're eating. So the nutrition is poor. But some farmers will plant, they'll let weeds grow in between the plants, or they'll put a row hedge so that the nutrition is varied. There's different sources of plants for them to pollinate, and that has scientifically been proven to help. So I'm just plugging Planet Bee here. We have a national seed bowl program that corporations can sponsor. We send enough supplies to a school for 800 seed balls. We use native seeds from that state, and they wrap seeds up in clay and they throw them into a green space. They can plant them around their school, or they can put them like into an empty lot, and they do a science project with it. So it's been really nice. We did have a founding sponsor of Bee Shore, and Marin Bee is sponsoring that program as well, because if you want to help bees, the easiest individual action you can do as an environmental steward is to plant flowers. So and a portion of our sales, we're actually supporting that program this year, and a portion of our sale always goes to the Planet Bee Foundation. So yeah, so what happens is the bees, just getting back to your original questions, the bees are very stressed right now because of poor nutrition and pesticides affecting them, and that varroa mite carries disease and viruses, and that's actually what kills them. So scientists are working diligently to help solve that problem, and sometimes they use like natural selection and genetics, where they'll take a really healthy drone and a really healthy queen. They try to breed like super healthy bees that can fight that off and keep them healthy with the food. So that's sort of what's happening in the bee world.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that we were able to talk about that, because I feel like this directly affects, I mean, if there's no bees, then there's no...
Well, the other thing you could say is bees pollinate 1/3 of all the food we eat in this country, but 70% of the world crops, which include cotton, oils, olive oil, alfalfa. So there are other pollinators in the world, but honeybees are the most prolific. And like I said, you can make more hives because you can keep dividing them. So we're really in trouble if we don't have our pollinators, and they are a barometer of the world health. The climate, the world's health in terms of the environment. So, we're a little out of whack right now. So at Marin Bee, we're very concerned about the environment. So we have natural products that are good for you, and we're supporting a fantastic cause, and we're trying to bring awareness so that people can become more environmentally conscious and become environmental stewards. So again, it's as simple as planting a flower.
Okay. And are you going to ever walk outside? Because I was at a barbecue yesterday and there was bees. They were not honeybees, but they were like nesting like on my friend's house, and they were like, oh, we got to get that taken care of. Honeybees aren't really going to be found doing that, right? They go out in forests or what?
Yeah. So honeybees, they need to live in a colony. Like I said, like a big colony, and those white boxes you see on the side of the road are like 50,000 bees. So they'll always be...
But naturally, like
yes.
nature.
They would be like in a hollow tree, or sometimes they get in the eave of your house. But if they're not coming in your house and they're not bothering, you can let them live there. I think what you're talking about is native bees, and they're more solitary, and they're struggling too, and they are good pollinators. They're not just like, you can't gather them up the way you could like a honeybee and bring them to a farm, but they're hugely important. And we actually do have native bee program where we have corporations make native bee houses as part of our STEM program at Planet Bee. And we donate those to schools so they can help make some homes for native bees as well, but they're struggling as well. So if you wanted to help native bees, the flowers are great, of course, because they're pollinating, but you could leave like a little mud patch in your yard, because sometimes they like to burrow on the ground, or a little bit of leaf litter. The other thing you could do is not cut the grass as much, and let some clover grow. That's good for all pollinators. But native bees, they are struggling as well, and like the rusty patch bumblebee is endangered, and so scientists are very concerned about that as well. Actually, I'm gonna plug us. CNN did interview us last week for 7 simple ways that you can help bees for National Honeybee Day. So if you're very concerned, you can go and look at that article online. That was last week.
I love that. So I'm trying to imagine like what your home looks like. Do you have like bee farm, like and one in your grass, one in a tree? Like how does your, do you live on a farm? Do you live?
So we actually live in San Francisco, and we've got a little backyard with an alleyway, and our neighbors are. Do you want to get up?
Oh,
Okay. Our alleyway is loaded with. He's just stepped over there. There's a bunch of fruit trees in our alleyway, and before we had the beehives, they weren't producing any fruit. They list a little bit, some lemon trees, and then we put the bees in there. We asked our neighbors, hey, can we have some beehives? They were like,
wow.
Sure. So now the lemon trees are very prolific. So they do multiply the produce a lot. But we've got, so we have our teaching hives in our backyard because we work out of a home office. We've got an observation hive that's in a nook box. People that are beekeepers will know that, and 2 hives there. And we've got 2 on our roof, and we've got solar also, so that's pretty cool. So you can have a beehive. You could even put it off a fire escape. Of course, I always say tell your neighbors just in case anyone's allergic or if you're just uncomfortable around bees. But our neighbors love the bees, so they get honey every year. So it's very easy. You don't need much room. You just make sure that the flight path doesn't go where people walk, and you're cool. They're not aggressive bees because they just want to pollinate flowers. I mean, obviously they'll sting if you opened up the hive or if they feel threatened or you stepped on them, but honeybees are not aggressive. And neither are native bees.
Okay, because I'm thinking, growing up, I was always so scared of bees, and so have you seen a huge difference? I mean, some of the photos I see of the kids, I mean, they're probably more respectful. If they see when they're not swatting at it, they actually know that they're doing something great. So you teach that in the program, and then it makes the next generation a little bit more aware that, hey, I shouldn't kill the bee. I should if let's say one flies in your house, you don't know if it's the end of its life, but there's always bees that come in my home, and then I'm like, what is it doing on the ground? Like, why is it crawling around? Like, is it lost? So is that something that, and what should you do? Should I, because I always try to shoo it outside, but it's weird because it's just buzzing around on the ground.
Okay, that is so fascinating that you brought that up. First of all, I want to say, the Yellowjackets are the ones that are a little bit more aggressive because they're meat eaters. They can actually, if you had food out, they could take a little bite and bring it back. So that's why they can keep biting you and stinging you. Honeybees, if they sting you, they die. So it's a last resort. So if you have a Yellowjacket, that's going to be more aggressive. But a honeybee, you could do like what you do with a spider, just pick it up and let it go out. But the crawling on the ground thing is fascinating. We actually at Planet Bee, we have a citizen science project that we've partnered with. We bring it to school. It's actually a citizen science project from San Francisco State's Zombie Watch team. And Dr. John Haffernick discovered that there was a forward fly that was laying eggs in honeybees. It had already been happening in native bees and Yellowjackets, and they discovered that it was happening in honeybees. So what happens is a little fly lays an egg sort of in the back, and it pupates. They don't move? Well, it pupates, and then when it's going to hatch, the bees, they're not sure why, but they fly to a light at night, like a moth would, and they're really supposed to go back in their house. So it could be sort of sacrificing their life, or it could be affecting their brain. But in the morning, it's crawling around on the ground, and that's actually what you're seeing. And so 75% of the hives in San Francisco have it, but it's all around the country. And our citizen science project is an engineering project where they try to make a cookie light trap to catch them. But the Zombie Watch project is trying to discover where that's happening around the country. So you can actually, as a citizen, you can collect data for that project. And you're actually seeing zombified bees when you see that with the zombie fly.
Okay, so the zombie they're calling it the Zombie Project.
The Zombie Watch.
Zombie Watch Project because they are...
they act like zombies. When it's about to pupate, they walk around on the ground and they act like a zombie.
Yeah.
And he gave it the
They
name
look
Zombie
lost.
Wash.
I'm
Yeah,
always
they're
worried for
gonna
them. I'm
die.
like, what's going to happen? Is this I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe it's the end of their 4 to 6 week
It could
life
be too.
cycle.
Sometimes,
Because where do they go to
depending.
die, right?
Right. Sometimes it could be at the end of their life they do that, but if you see them under a light, it's probably because at nighttime they were attracted to that light. But
It's
when
usually like in the morning. Like I see them in the
You
morning
see
or
them in the
afternoon,
morning.
and they just fly in my house, and then they're crawling all over, or they're like crawling like in a my windowsill or whatever. And I'm like, what is going on?
Sometimes at the end of their life they will just crawl around. So like outside of our beehives, you will see a bunch of dead bees that sort of aged out. And it's kind of, if they die in the hive, some of the bees have the role of an undertaker bee. They actually have that name, and they're middle-aged bees. They're about 3 weeks old, 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll pick up a bee. If it dies in the hive, they'll literally carry it out, and they'll drop it outside of the hive. So if you look outside of a beehive, you'll always see dead bees because they're aging out. So you could actually have bees that are at the end of their life.
Got it. Okay. And are the normal flies? Because I have a dog, and obviously a lot of my neighbors have dogs, and like there's obviously poop from some people don't pick up their. And so are those the flies, or are they
No,
totally different?
They're totally different. They're like microscopic. You can
Okay,
barely see them. I mean,
got
when
it.
they hatch out, we try to catch them in a jar, and they look at them. I mean, they're teeny tiny,
Oh,
like way
wow.
tinier than a fruit fly.
And you don't want them in your house, so definitely.
Yeah, they won't do anything though,
Okay.
because I mean they'll hatch out and they'll just die. They'll try to get out. You won't even notice them.
Okay. So going back to your skincare company, so you're here today, like at this expo,
Yes.
and you were at Indy before. So do you do a lot of these shows around California? Do you guys go national, international? Like where are you next?
Yeah, so we do go to the trade shows. We were just at Cosmoprof in Las Vegas, and we do sell in Japan at Aloe Garden, and we're launching in the Middle East at Budakwa. This is very cool. And Whole Foods, they did the 5% day for us. So we sell at some stores in SoCal, and we'll be launching in NorCal.
Yeah.
And then a lot of little boutiques and spas. And it's nice because we cross over to the spa world because the products are really like treatments, because we were solving our own skin issues, but the packaging is pretty. So a lot of people love it for gifts because we have a lot of body products, and Bloomingdale's is looking at us in Palo Alto in San Francisco, sort of as a local brand, which has been really nice. And so we're a little international, and we just launched 2 years ago, so we're still getting our name out there and getting our distribution going and all that stuff.
So do you have anything planned for the rest of this year? Like any other shows that people can come see you at, or other events that are coming up? I mean, I know Indy was just in New York, and like do you do that every year, or is that like every quarter? Like how does that work?
So we've done Indy in California every year. We've done Cosmoprof for 3 years. When we launched at Cosmoprof in 2017, so we had like our 2-year anniversary this year. The first year Cosmoprof, we were the top finalists for packaging for ICMAD. They had awards, so it was pretty cool. Cosmetic Innovator of the Year, and for the nonprofit. So that was pretty exciting. That was a really great way to launch.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, we're just doing an interview. I'm so sorry. I can't concentrate when there's people, but it's okay. But I just wanted to go over your brand a little bit more.
You guys were doing that.
No worries.
I'm trying to conduct business.
No worries. Same.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'll move.
Thank you so much. So, what I really loved about your brand, I did try the shave cream. I really did love it. And you do have natural formulas that are clean, safe, effective, and you do have cruelty-free products. They're all gluten-free as well.
Yes.
My fiance struggles with that. So when I told him, oh, you can use this, he was like, oh my gosh, it's like
I know.
gluten-free. So he really loves that.
Yeah, and my husband has celiac disease. So I
Yes,
was
same.
kinda
He
weird
has
about
that as well.
Yeah.
It's very
It's a
tough.
struggle.
And he also has the psoriasis. So it was
Oh,
soothing for
my
him. And he really
God.
was like, what is this bee like stuff? And, he
Yeah.
doesn't really like a lot of the cleaner brands that are almost more hippie that don't really work. And so, but he did really like yours. And so I noted that in my mind. And I was like, oh, I have to come see you.
Oh,
and you were one
lovely.
of the
Thank
few
you.
brands here that's actually clean. And so I'm so glad you were here. But is there anything else that you want to leave listeners with? And then obviously, where can they find you? Maybe your website. Where on social media are you at the most that you want people to connect with you?
Right. So we're on Instagram and Facebook. course. And we have a website, obviously. We are on Amazon like all the other brands, so you can find us there as well. And, if you want to swing into Whole Foods store or Bloomies. And
I've seen it at Whole Foods. It's really, really cool.
It's exciting. It's wonderful. But we just, thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah.
And of course, we love the earth and we love making products that are healthy for people and the earth. And, our mission deep down, besides making beautiful, clean products, is that we help people think a little bit differently about the environment. And we love bees and they are struggling, but they're a wonderful reminder when you do see a bee that you can change your behavior in little actions. And it is as easy, like I said, as planting a flower or using a clean product on yourself. It's good for yourself and it's good for the earth. So we like to say we're dedicated to creating a green-minded generation.
Oh, I like that.
Right. So
Great.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Clean Beauty Podcast. I'm so thankful for your support that I decided to start giving away $500 in custom curated clean beauty products each month. Do you want to win? Share why you love listening in a review on iTunes. Then screenshot that review and share it on your Instagram feed with the hashtag #ban1500. If you've already reviewed the podcast and still want to win, just repost the giveaway from the Clean Beauty Podcast Instagram feed and you'll be re-entered to win in the next drawing. Good luck! For information on my tour schedule, upcoming events, press announcements, joining my Clean Beauty team, or to book me to speak at your next event, head over to my website, CassandraMcClure.com.